Chapter 11. Xiao Chu lived in a special apartment downstairs. Its uniqueness lay in the owner's pet, a rare species of blue-purple macaw. The bird was called General, and it was a tall, rich and handsome parrot. This guy's value was comparable to a 100 square meter house in the center of Chuhua City, and its value was still rising. It had a high IQ, was proficient in many languages and had an eye-catching appearance. Coupled with the principle that rare things were valuable, it would be strange if this B***-starred bird's value was not high. Unlike most of the balconies in the apartment building, the balconies of the apartment on the 4th floor were all surrounded by thick barbed wire, mainly to prevent the bird from flying out. They were not afraid that it would fly away, but they were afraid that it would bully people and animals. This guy looked normal, but in fact it was full of evil tricks. General had a nickname, the Cat's Worry. This guy especially liked to bully cats and especially liked to bite their ears. It was said that several cats in the school had been bitten before. This was what Jing Tan had heard from the Jiaopa when he first came to this place. The Jiaopa had warned Jing Tan so that Jing Tan would be more vigilant against fire, theft and parrots. Looking at this guy's size and thinking about the strength of the maca's bite, one could imagine how destructive it could be when it was angry. However, after familiarizing himself with it, Jing Tan knew that this bird actually bullied cats depending on who they were dealing with. The cats in the eastern residential area were fine. As long as they did not provoke it, it would not take the initiative to attack them. However, if it saw the cats in the western residential area, then sorry. Perhaps because of its owner's influence, this bird especially liked to sing nostalgic songs. Some songs Jing Tan had only heard in nostalgic documentaries, and some songs he had no impression of at all. However, listening to the tune he knew that it was from a certain era. For example, the song Jing Tan had just heard could be traced back to the 1980s, which was still good. What surprised Jing Tan the most was this bird's ability. If the average parrot's IQ was close to 4 or 5 years old, then the one downstairs was probably comparable to an adult, and it was a genius. Why did he say that? The birds downstairs were still singing in a low voice. Jing Tan could not help but look up at the starry sky helplessly and let out a long sigh. Then he scanned the balcony and found a metal mosquito coil. He pushed it to the railings, stretched out his claws and gently tapped it. Dang 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 dang. The singing downstairs stopped abruptly. The next moment, Jing Tan heard the sound of flapping wings and the clanging of toes hitting the barbed wire. Apparently, the bird did not expect to hear such a sound at this time, so it was very excited and ran to the barbed wire. Not long after, a pecking sound came from downstairs. It sounded like the bird was pecking at some food packaging. Beep 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 beep. You're here. No one would have thought that in the middle of the night, a cat on the 5th floor of Block B of the East Family compound of Chuhua University was communicating with a parrot on the 4th floor using Morse code. In fact, Jing Tan was not proficient in Morse code. He had just learned it not long ago. The only one who could use it proficiently was De Pang, the seemingly insignificant dragonly cat. Every time De Pang went to visit relatives in the military region, or when the relatives in the military region came to visit the old lady, they would examine the use of cryptography such as Morse code communication, simple fence code card games, and so on. If De Pang's test results were not satisfactory, it would be better off squatting on instant noodles. This parrot was a loyal fan of cryptography. When De Pang was at home, it would go to De Pang with cards in its mouth to play fence code games. If it could not find De Pang, it would go to Jing Tan or its owner to play Morse code communication games. However, its owner was usually busy and did not have much time to play with it, so Jing Tan was often affected by disasters. Last week, General was taken to a nature reserve in another province to play. Jing Tan was very relaxed for a few days. Now that he found out that this guy was back, Jing Tan suddenly felt depressed. I heard that Huang was castrated? Today I saw that it was wearing an Elizabethan collar. General was still in the excitement of finding someone to chat with in the middle of the night, and had no sympathy for Huang. I haven't seen it for a few days. Jing Tan continued to knock on the mosquito coil plate. Alas, this is the fate of pet cats. It's really pitiful. In the future, the 4 swordsmen of the Eastern District will probably become the 4 eunuchs of the Eastern District. Not every pet cat would go through that surgery. Don't deceive yourself. *CK I don't want to talk to you. Don't go, let's talk. Aren't cats nocturnal animals? It's none of your business. I'm going to sleep. Alright, can't you sing something more fashionable? Half a minute later there was a low singing voice downstairs again. You're like that fire. The burning flame warms me, Xing Tan. I want to pinch it to death. Ignoring the overly energetic bird, Xing Tan went back to the chair in the living room, covered its ears with its front paws and closed its eyes to sleep. Early the next morning, Xiaochu was woken up by Xing Tan's loud cat howl. It struggled to get up, put on its SpongeBob SquarePants pajamas and opened the door to let Xing Tan out. In fact, Xing Tan could open the door himself, but this was not his home, so he needed to be more careful. Besides, Xing Tan wanted to give Xiaochu some trouble and not let him sleep well. Xiaochu yawned and forced herself to open the door. However, when she opened the door, she found that the Jiao family's door was open. Hearing the noise, the Jiao family, who were having breakfast, gathered around the door. Xiaochu rubbed his eyes and smiled. Morning. Xing Tan went straight to the dining table and the Jiao Ma went into the kitchen to get breakfast for Xing Tan. Outside the door, Xiaochu took out the rat from last night with a pair of tongs. The Jiao Pa looked and commented, You used a little too much strength, but it's okay. Xing Tan pulled his ear, pretended not to hear and continued to eat breakfast. The Jiao Ma also gave Xiaochu a bowl of vegetable porridge and asked him to eat with her. Anyway, with Xiaochu's habits, it was impossible for him to buy breakfast or make breakfast himself at this time. At the dining table, Xiaochu ate his porridge and talked about how he caught the rat last night. The Jiao family was excited, especially the Jiao Ma, who talked about it whenever she went out. At noon, Huang was brought over by its owner. It was no longer wearing the Elizabeth collar. After not seeing it for a few days, Huang seemed to have lost a lot of weight and looked listless. Ever since Xing Tan met it, he had never seen it like this. The Jiao Ma was chatting with Huang's owner. Sisterling, is Huang still recovering from the surgery? The Jiao Ma was a little worried. I don't think so. Other people's cats also had the same surgery, and they were full of energy the next day. However, after the surgery it did change a lot. It doesn't pee everywhere like it used to. Xing Tan walked into the Jiao Yuan's room and pulled out a large glass marble. Hearing the sound of the glass marble rolling, Huang's ears twitched and it looked over. Xing Tan thought that it would become dumb after the surgery. It was good that it was able to respond. He bent his foot and pulled the glass marble towards where Huang was lying. Huang, who was lying there listlessly, stretched out its paw and hooked the glass marble. 5 minutes later, Xing Tan looked at the energetic Huang playing with the glass marble in the living room and sighed. What the F***ck? It wasn't shocked, it was bored at home. In the end, under the Jiao Ma's suggestion, Huang was allowed to go out for a walk. After leaving the house, Huang returned to its previous energetic state. As soon as it walked out of the building, it ran and howled excitedly. Meow, meow, meow. On the 5th floor, the two women standing on the balcony were very confused. Didn't they say that cats that had undergone surgery wouldn't howl like that anymore? Based on his understanding of Huang, Xing Tan knew that this guy was just venting his frustration after being forced to stay at home with Elizabeth for a few days. At the same time, he was calling out to his other friends. That was all. When they walked to the corner, they met Grandma Zhai, who was on the same floor as Xing Tan and the other cats. Xing Tan and the other cats all knew her. Huang. Grandma Zhai called out. Hearing his name, Huang, who was howling with his tail up, suddenly stopped. He squinted his eyes and looked over. He replied delicately, Meow. Xing Tan was speechless. This feeling was like seeing an auntie suddenly become a pretty girl from a humble family. There was a huge difference. They continued to trot along the familiar forest and came to the small forest next to the family area. Depang and Sheriff, who had been summoned by Huang's howl, were already there. Depang still looked sleepy with half-closed eyelids. As for Sheriff, he was chewing something in his mouth. It was probably some kind of insect. The four cats walked a little deeper into the forest. Xing Tan moved his ears. There seemed to be other people in the forest. He looked up and saw a touch of blue on a tree in front of him. It was General. The yellow crescent-shaped mouth of that guy always made Xing Tan feel that it was smiling slyly. Huang looked up and saw General. He opened his mouth. Meow. General, in the tree, heard the sound and looked at the four cats under the tree with his yellow eyes. He then raised his paw without an anklet to his mouth. Shoo! Xing Tan was speechless.